Technically, I train arms every single day. And what happened? Well, what's going on, guys? Zach Perna here, and today's video is gonna be on arm training. So I'm gonna try to give you guys an in-depth run through of why your arms aren't growing, let's say, the best plan of attack to get them to grow, and a little bit about my experience as well. So let's get into it. Now, I'm just gonna preface this whole video with arms are probably one of the most clickbait kind of fitness videos out there, because there's so many kids that just want big arms, or you might be a brand new beginner and you've never been into the gym before and you want big arms, or you might be somebody who's quite experienced in the gym but you still want to improve them. So that's why it's quite hard to make these videos, because I'm dealing with a variety of viewers. Okay, so I'm gonna bear with me, because I'm gonna kind of check off some of the basics and at the same time try to cut through a bit of the bullshit, because there is a lot of it. So let's get into it. Now, let's start with my experience. So I've been training for maybe 8 or 9 years, and I've always done a bro split. So like a chest day, back day, arm day by itself, shoulder, you know, I've always had one muscle group per day kind of thing. And I didn't really have a decent I didn't have the understanding that I've got now about how muscle grows, the best, you know, practices with training and everything like that. My nutrition's always been good, so that's one thing I'll give myself credit for, is my nutrition was always good. So let's rewind a little bit. Now, when I started training, my arms were not big at all. They weren't my strong point. They were actually, I would say they were one of my weak points. And then I obviously wanted to grow them. Lucky for me, I quite liked training arms. It was enjoyable. So I liked it more than legs, that's for sure. And it's evident because my arms are bigger than my legs. Now, so I actually had a decent arm day, you know, once a week. And at one point I thought, okay, let's see. They were okay, they weren't huge, they weren't big for my standards. I wanted to get them bigger. So when I was about 17 or 18, I thought, let's try to train them every day, because I knew something a little bit, I heard a bit about frequency, that okay, if you want to make a muscle grow, you got to hit it frequently. That's, you know, refers to how many times you're training it. So I was like, okay, cool, let's try that out. So like on Monday I did, say, you know, back with biceps. Tuesday I did legs with triceps. So, and then I did the next one with biceps. So I just alternated. So every day, technically I trained arms every single day. And what happened? Well, they actually grew. Coincident, I don't know if it's a coincidence or not. I also did a bit of a bulk at this time. So what happened is I ended up getting, my arms measured up at like 17 inches, I think. At the end, I was pretty fat. So granted, it was a bit of fat as well. I had stretch marks. That's where I got these stretch marks. You probably can't even see, but I got these stretch marks all over my arms from, at that point is when I realized it. That's when they were really fresh. And on that note too, guys, if you do have stretch marks, I was stoked with it. Like when I was 18, I got these stretches. I was like, yes. I was like, this means my arms are growing. This is working, you know? So I was actually pretty happy with it. So that's why some people get self-conscious about it. It's like, don't even worry about it. You can't really do anything about them, in my opinion. They fade over time. And plus, it's a good thing. The only thing you can do is not get too fat, because obviously if you get too fat, you can get them easier. Now, so I managed to get my arms quite big when I was for my standards, when I was 18. And ever since then, I haven't really prioritized them, because when I do, it looks a bit silly, because even like now they make my shoulders look small. So I've had to bring up my shoulders a lot because my arms are too big for my body. I know that sounds so arrogant, but it's a proportion thing. It just means if I train my arms, I look like a sausage. So now I don't prioritize them as much. Now, let's talk about reasons why they won't grow, okay? So the most common reasons I see is genetics. Now, I don't know, like I said, I don't know where you guys are at, but if you are just starting the gym and you feel like your whole frame is skinny, okay, and you think, why are my arms growing? Okay, well, let's look at the whole picture. Generally, you need to focus on growing everything, okay? So I know it's a little bit, it might be a bit discouraging, because you might be thinking, damn, he's just telling me to grow everything. And it's just one of those things where you just gotta keep chipping away at it, and then all of a sudden you'll be like, hang on, now I've got a good foundation, I've got a good base, my arms are growing, you know, everything's kind of growing. You might just be focusing on your arms and thinking, why aren't these growing? But really, you need to work on everything, okay? So for one, usually you need a bit of a foundation. So just keep training, don't read into it too much. But if you are training and you think, you know, they're growing, but they're not as growing as well as everything else, maybe we need a bit more direct work. So let's get into that a little bit more. Another one is genetics. Now, some people it's just one of those things. Your calves don't grow, your arms are less likely to grow. You might have different bicep insertions where, like mine, for example, they look bigger when they're peaked as opposed to flat. They've always looked kind of small. My brother's, he's got like more longer biceps. They look bigger, just chilling like that, like relaxed. As opposed to when he flexes, it doesn't really change much. So it's also the genetic component of that too. Again, my brother Joel, he's got huge triceps, So his arms have always looked bigger than mine in my opinion. Now he stopped training for a bit and I caught up to him and now I kill again. But, sorry Joel. But yeah, it's just another one of those things where genetics play such a big role in that. So some people, unfortunately, it is harder. So I like now that I look at it, I think, okay, I've got decent arm genetics, but it took me a few years to discover that. But again, there's some people, like a lot of tall guys out there too, especially, it's really difficult to fill your arms out and you gotta grow so much more muscle to fill that out. But it can be done. I've seen it been done before, but you just gotta do the right things. So let's look at the wrong things that you're doing. A lot of people, they train arms, I'm gonna say incorrectly or just, it could be better. Okay, so you guys can decide where you're at on this. Every time you train arms or any muscle group for that matter, you need to take it through its full stretch and you have to have, I don't care what people say, you need a decent mind-muscle connection, okay? And what I mean by that is you don't have to go super slow and like, 10 seconds to get the rep up, but you have to, okay, if you're doing a curl, stretch, hold it for like a second in the stretch or, if that, and then squeeze up with the bicep. Don't use your shoulder, and you gotta be aware of that. You gotta be aware of the difference in feeling of curling with your bicep versus curling with momentum, shoulder and back. So you can really use any muscle if you want. So you wanna keep it on the biceps and triceps. Again, so on that form, this is where form is important. So you wanna have decent stretch. Every rep should be like this. Stretch, hold it, squeeze up, and hold the squeeze. The contraction is really important, okay? And you want to use obviously the heaviest weight you can for the given rep range. So we'll talk a little bit about reps and sets later. But that has to be how you're training arms, okay? You can't just go swinging weights up or swinging close grip bench press, just using momentum to get the weight up and thinking it's heavy weight, therefore my arms have to grow. You really got to train them properly, okay? So that's a big thing too. And so work on your mind-muscle connection, work on squeezing, and also under load. So learn the difference in feeling that contraction under load as opposed to just like this, okay? So that's one big thing, is make sure you're training properly. Now, I've done a video on this before, and I don't like cheat curls personally, because people overload the eccentrics. So a cheat curl, if you don't know, it's like swinging the bar up, Arnold used to do them, and then lowering it to get that heavy eccentric where you usually couldn't lift it up. Now, I don't like that because I feel like it's compromising form, which increases the risk of injury. Now, yeah, you're gonna get benefit because a heavy eccentric, loading that and going slow on the way down is really beneficial, but at what cost? I've seen a lot of young guys doing this in the gym, and that's why I try to steer you guys away from that, because the last thing I'd want is if I say, yep, cheat kills are great, good in the negative, load it up, and then I see a bunch of kids in the gym swinging weight, potentially hurting themselves and then putting themselves out. I'd hate that. Why would you want to give that advice? So I never do them. I don't do cheat kills. I don't like them. I prefer to use the weight that you can actually lift, okay? And maybe if you want to go heavy, do your like 4 rep max with decent, with good form. Have a bit more rest, do more sets, do like 6 sets of that. So you're getting the volume up without having to go, or just get your spotter to help you up. You don't need to do that stuff. Now, the next reason why your arms might not be growing is just an inefficient split. So split refers to James McAvoy's movie where he plays Patricia and Hedwig, and it's a decent movie, 7 out of 10. And it also refers to how you split your body up throughout the week in terms of training, okay? So I used to have an arm day, and I would have like 1 arm day once a week. I train my arms once a week. So you think about it in the sense of, so you're training your arms 4 times a month. Really, 4 sessions, you're not gonna notice growth out of 4 sessions, really, like when you think about it. You think, okay, how many sessions would it take to notice growth? In your mind, using common sense, you'd be like, surely, over 50. Yeah, that's a year. So that's why high frequency training is quite good, I think. But this is where it comes down to priorities. So you can't, and I've done this before, I've been thinking, well, okay, so can't you just train everything twice a week and just go nuts? But your body has limited resources, and you're not just this machine that can just recover like that.
Just going to pause right there. It only occurred to me editing this video that I didn't specify that your volume has to reduce if you want to increase your frequency. So as I'll talk about, frequency is good, but you can't just keep your volume the same and increase frequency.
So you'll notice if you up everything, yeah, you'll probably get results for a little bit, but it's gonna bite back at you and you're gonna notice it and you're gonna need more rest and you're not gonna progress and it's just not gonna work for you. So what I would recommend is thinking, okay, so if your arms really are a weak point and you really can't fill them out for your physique, then let's prioritize them. Now this is how you do that. There's a multitude of ways of doing this. There's not just one right way, but I'm gonna recommend you one way. So one way is to train your arms on its own arm day, as well as tagging it on with chest and triceps, back and biceps. Now, the benefit of putting it with chest and triceps and back and biceps is it's just like a little touch up. You might do like 2 exercises. Not enough to really get bad DOMs. You can probably train it again quite soon. So that's in like, if you want to do a push-pull leg, you can do that. If you want to have chest, tricep day, back bicep, shoulder, leg, arms, you know, whatever you want to do, you can do that. But the key is training arms twice a week. That's what I would suggest, twice a week. A lot of people search for some dramatic thing that's going to really blow it up, like I did when I trained them every day. And I just think that's a good example of tendonitis. Really, it's a good example of extremes to get, like, yeah, obviously high frequency works, but for me, I got stretch marks. I was obviously a bit fat, and I had a little bit of tendon issues in my biceps too because it was just being overworked. So I don't think what I did was the best way of doing it. I think I could have got the same results if I had done just twice a week, but it just shows that high frequency did work. So what I would suggest to you guys is, okay, let's have an arm day where I personally like to superset arms. That's the most fun workout for me because it just blows up and they're antagonistic. So whilst one, like say, stretches, the other contracts, and you can kind of minimize your rest times and still perform pretty well. So I like to have an arm day if I'm doing it. And then, like I said, tag 2 exercises on chest, tag 2 exercises on back at the end of the session and see how you go with that. So I would also mix up the rep ranges. Now, biceps and triceps respond well to heavy weight and also high reps. So that's why in an ideal world, you'll do both. Now, one good thing to say, like, I don't train forearms by themselves. I don't think you really need to unless they're just lagging. But if you're doing hammer curls and you're training biceps properly, you should be fine. But for example, like hammer curls, I tend to go quite heavy on those. So I might do working sets of like 8. Whereas on a cable curl or another curl, I might do sets of 10, drop sets up to 20. So you can really add in the volume there. And then that's why you can play around with these sessions. So maybe on your arm day, you'll do your mainly heavies. So you'll start off, you might choose a couple exercises like incline curls where you can really load it up, or hammer curls. Again, for triceps, you've got dips, you've got close grip bench press. I'm gonna go out and say now, again, that there's no specific exercises that I think you have to do. I think you can choose which ones you want to do. A lot of people will just say, yep, chin-ups, chin-ups, chin-ups. And in my opinion, that is because you're gonna grow more of a foundation. So that's why you'll notice it, because you're bigger in general. So like I said, it depends on where you are. Guys, if you're watching this right now and you are literally really, really, really skinny and you think, I need big arms, but you need big everything else, your body's not just gonna you're not just gonna grow arms and if you're still training everything else. You need to grow as a whole, if that makes sense. So really, you might don't stress. That's a good thing because you don't have to stress. Just focus on training, eating, and getting better, okay? But if you think, yeah, you need maybe to bring them up, then this is what this video is for. And another really important thing to consider too is progressive overload. So this is basically the key driver of muscle growth. Progressive overload is basically, it's progressively improving. It's overloading the muscle. So for example, you do bicep curls, you do 10 reps, that's your max. Then in time, you want to be able to do heavier weight for 10 reps, or that same weight, you want it to feel light later, because that's the concept. Your body's adapting and growing because of that. So you really have to keep increasing it. Now, what you'll find is if you keep pushing frequency too hard with everything and you're training every muscle group 3 times a week, you're not going to be able to improve. That's why you can't improve, you can't recover. So that's why you need to be smart with your rest. Say we're training arms twice a week, that means everything else has to be once a week, all right? Otherwise, you're not gonna move up. And you're not gonna overload, you're not gonna get better. So I used to think you could just go into the gym and annihilate yourself. No rest, just train 10 seconds rest in between sets, go nuts. If it's too heavy, just quickly grab another light set and smash it out. And really, I'd get sore from that. I'd be like, sweet, soreness, I'm growing. But it's just not the case. The best way to grow is to get stronger at the basic movements and get stronger over time. Now, that doesn't mean a 1 rep max, but that means stronger for your 6 rep max, stronger for your 10 rep max, So stuff like that. Now, again, at the end of the session, I think it's important to chuck some intensity techniques in there just because you can. So, a lot of pump work, like drop sets, you can do supersets as well. But I wouldn't say start off a workout with a million supersets and drop sets. I don't think it's necessary. I think you'd much rather test yourself and try to get better and stronger over time. And then you get more bang for your buck that way. So really, let's do a bit of a recap here. 1, make sure your form is right, okay? 2, train them frequently. I'll put some example splits in the description if you guys want to try. There's no exact science to it. You've got to fit it in with your schedule. 3, there's no exact exercises that you have to do. I'm not going to go and tell you need to do this one exercise. I'll provide you guys an example arm day that you can follow, but again, I can change my arm days all the time. So you just have to choose the exercises that you like, choose the exercises that you feel and you connect well with. If you're doing a tricep push down and you feel it in your chest and you can't manage to feel it in your triceps properly, move on, okay? Unless you're gonna really work on it and try to fix it. But if it feels bad or it feels bad for your joints, just skip it, okay? I'm saying that in the sense of like, you know, some exercises aren't well suited to people. If it's just a case of you getting better at it and learning how to do it, then yeah, please learn how to do it. But I mean more in the sense of like, if a movement feels bad in your elbow tendon, maybe just avoid it, okay? So my point here is that there are no exercises that you have to do. That's, I think, is an important thing, because I used to think that, and you'd see people going, oh wow, he's got great arms, what does he do? Stop doing that, because it's irrelevant. That's where the genetics comes into play as well. To wrap up genetics, is you will see some of the best, in this day and age now too, you'll see some of the best arms and physiques on people ever on Instagram. And then you'll be like, what does that guy do for arms? And you'll look at it, oftentimes it's the stock standard workout, which is fine. Other times it's random shit because they can, and it doesn't even matter. Like you get guys who can literally pick this up and then they got huge biceps, and then you're like, I need to start doing that. And you'll be like picking this up and it's still a twig. So that's where it's really important not to look to other people. Because I mean, me, for example, I have decent arms for me. I'm quite happy with them. But I'm not gonna go and tell you guys, today's workout is what you have to do to get arms like mine, because simply there's no point of even you comparing yourself to me at all. So stop doing that, stop comparing yourself to anyone else. I'm not gonna tell you guys you can look like me. I'm gonna try tell you guys what to do and what I've done, you know, to become the best version of myself. So this is getting deep, but I just wanted to cut the shit a little bit because there's a lot of misconceptions with people saying, this is what I do to get arms like mine, go for it, okay? So not a thing. I feel like this video has kind of been, there's a lot more to talk about than I actually had in mind. I was gonna wrap over like genetics, form, and that's about it, but this has turned into quite a spiel, quite a Steven Spielberg. But like I said, I'll give you an example of an arm day coming up next, and you guys can try this out. But I would just want to stress for the most part that, guys, it is a genetic thing. You can overcome it, but you need to train right. You have to train with the right principles, and know that if it's a case of just getting bigger altogether and improving, then great, just do that. Don't stress about getting your arms bigger. Don't stress about minute details, like me trying to grow like my forearms when I was 16. But no, like really, like I used to try and do forearm curls because I thought that needed to be like this, but really my whole arm needed to be bigger. So it's one of those things of just getting better and improving over time. But if you can correct some misconceptions or, you know, areas of your training that can be fixed, then let's do that from the beginning. But guys, that is it for this. Let's go hit the gym, and we'll see you in a bit. All right guys, so I'm gonna show you an arm workout today. If you do have access to a gym, great, but if you don't, it is dumbbells only, so it should be fine. If you see me using a bench, just use the floor. If you don't have any dumbbells, you can use a dog instead. It works perfectly fine. So, let's get into it.
I'm making sure they know me now, and I pray they never forget me. Ain't made it because they let me made a lane, and I played the game. I couldn't stay the same, I had to change up, get my change up before I lost my brain. Belly of the beast, no peace, think I need a breeze. Somebody pray for me, cause my sanity is out of reach. Going insane, I see me taking over the game. Could tell it's up in my brain, but I hear them yelling my name like, and I don't need the limelight. Do it on my own, I do me, I bet I shine bright. On my headlight flow, double red lights go. We just headed to the tippy, whoa, whoa, whoa. Damn it, I'm killing, I'm amped, and I slam it out of you. One-handed, big bandit, I feel like the champion, oh man. Yo, I feel like the champion. Y'all lamp, and I'm killing, I'm amped, and I slam it out of you. One-handed, big bandit, I feel like the champion, oh man. Yo, I feel like the champion. Feeling like a champ. The champions never settle. I need a trophy, a medal, do my name. Moving lanes, my foot be on the pedal, get ahead. Movement change, it's only cause I let you, homie. All I know is I ain't got to pretend. She put me in the top 10, how I got it in. Something burning inside like I gotta win. And that's what take to be a champ, I swear you not there. Damn it, I'm killing, I'm amped, and I slam it out of you. One-handed, big bandit, I feel like the champion, oh man. Yo, I feel like the champion. Y'all lamp, and I'm killing, I'm amped, and I slam it out of you. One-handed, big bandit, I feel like the champion, oh man. Yo, I feel like the champion. I feel like a champion, oh man. Yo, I feel like the champion, oh man. Yo, I feel like the champion. Yo, I feel like the champion, oh man. Yo, I feel like the champion, oh man. Yo, I feel like the champion, oh man. Yo, I feel like the champion. Damn it, I'm killing, I'm amped, and I
So guys, I hope you enjoyed that and you took something out of it at least. If you did, let me know in the comments below. Even just give this video a like if you did enjoy it, that'd be great. And subscribe to the channel. But guys, that is it for me. And you definitely know what to do. Stay nuts.
Got a fresh cut in the denims, all these sexy jeans in my section. And slide into your DMs in the PM and the AM. Then I slide into your feelings when you see just what I'm saying.